Alright guys, today we're going to talk about the law of sines. And the nice thing about the law of sines is this is going to work for all types of triangles. So we're not just stuck with right triangles here. So let's start off by drawing triangle ABC. And then we're going to name the opposite sides little a, little b, and little c. Remember, they're directly across from the big angles. And here's the equation for the law of sines. It's sine big A over little a. That's equal to sine big B over little b, which is equal to sine big C over little c. We're going to solve this like a proportion, and we're only going to use 2 of the 3 pieces of information when we solve it. Alright, let's try to work one with it. So here we're given a triangle, ABC. We've got measure of angle B is 48.4. Little b is 11.7. And little a is 15.3. Directions ask us to find the measure of angle A, so we need to find big A. We're going to set up our proportion. And to use the law of sines, I have to know an angle and know an opposite side to be able to set up a proportion. And so my proportion I'm going to use is sine A over 15.3 equals sine of 48.4 over 11.7. So it's essential that I know an angle and its opposite to even be able to use law of sines. Alright, once we're set up at this point, all I'm going to do is cross multiply. So I'm going to have 11.7 sine A equal to a 15.3 times sine of 48.4. And I'm wanting to solve for big A. So I would start off by dividing by that 11.7 on both sides. I'm going to type that in my calculator and see what I get. So I have sine A equal to 0.9779, and I'm rounding to 4 decimal places. And then to undo that process of the sine function, we're going to use arc sine or sine inverse. So I need to take the arc sine of each side. On the left side, it's just going to cancel out the sines and leave me with A. On the right side, type it in the calculator. I've got 77.9 rounding to the nearest tenth. So there's using law of sines. We're just setting up our proportions, cross multiplying, and then solving for whatever variable we have. Alright, trying to solve for a missing side. So we've solved for an angle, now let's solve for a missing side. We're going to solve for AB. Now a problem I see here is I need to solve for AB, that would be little c. I don't know big C either, so I'm missing both pieces of information. But I have B and its opposite, so that means that's a side. I could use a law of sines since I have an angle and its opposite. It'll help me set up my equation. So what I need to do first is solve for big A. So I'm going to set up sine 126 over 18.6 equals sine A over 13.3. So this is going to let me solve for big A. I'm going to cross multiply and solve just like I did last problem. I'll have 13.3 sine 126 equals 18.6 sine A. I'm going to divide by the 18.6 on both sides. That will leave me with sine A equals 0.5785. And then undo the sine function, do the arc sine. So big A will be equal to 35.3 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and fill that in up in my triangle. Now that I've got 2 angles, I need to know big C to find little c side. And I can just remember, since I've got 2 angles, I can find the missing in a triangle by subtracting them from the total of a triangle, which is 180. So I'm going to set up 180 minus the 126 minus the 35.3. See what that gets me? That is 18.7. So that's what the measure of angle C is 18.7 degrees. Now that I know little c, I can set up a law of sines again to solve for little c. So we got sine of 126 over 18.6 is going to be equal to sine of 18.7 over c. So I'm always going to use, if I know an angle and its opposite, I'm going to keep using it in the problem. Alright, let's cross multiply. So I'll have C sine 126 equals 18.6 sine of 18.7. We're going to divide by the sine 126 on both sides to get C by itself. Left side they cancel, and I'll type the right side in my calculator, and I got 7.4, and in this problem we're dealing with centimeters. All right? So there's my final answer. I found side AB. I had to get some other information to get there. Alright, and then the last type is solve the triangle. So this is going to be finding all missing angles, all missing sides. Look at what you're given. I'm given two angles, so I can find the third angle pretty easy. Take my total into the triangle, 180, subtract each of those angles from it. So I've got 180 minus 51.9 minus 71.4. That gets me 54. Alright, so that means angle C has to be a 54-degree angle. Now that I know an angle and its opposite side, I can set up law of sines. So I can set up sine of 54 over the 12.8. I'm going to go ahead and solve for side A first and set it equal to sine of 51.9 over little a. Cross multiply just like we've been doing. So we have 12.8 sine of 51.9 equals a sine of 54. We'll divide both sides by the sine 54. On the right side it's going to cancel. And on the left side, type that in the calculator, and we got 12.5. So I know the side over there is going to be 12.5 centimeters. Alright, so good. We found one angle, we found one side. All we're missing is one more side. And to solve for that one, I'm going to use that same proportion with the sine of 54 over 12.8, but I'm going to set it equal to sine of the angle B, which is 71.4, over little b. So writing that out, sine 54 over 12.8 equals sine of 74.1 over little b. Same process, cross multiply. 12.8 sine of 74.1 equals b sine of 54. Getting b by itself, so we need to divide by sine 54. That's going to cancel on the right side. I'm going to be left with b. On the left side, typing that in the calculator, and we get 15.2. So that will be our missing side, 15.2 centimeters. So we found all missing sides, all missing angles. We've solved the triangle. One big thing is be cautious as you're typing these in your calculator to be sure you've either got parentheses used appropriately if you're using an old TI-84. If you're using the Inspires, be sure you stack your fractions and let it do the order of operations correctly. If you're not getting the same answers I have, you've probably typed the signs in wrong and find out where you're messing it up. Alright guys, good luck on this, and hopefully this has got law of sines covered pretty well for you. This is a good basis of it, and if you have any trouble, just let me know.